It's exciting. I'm hoping for something very substantial in the garden shaft. This is where the treasure hunt actually begins.
The Oak Island team just found gold inside an old wooden ladder deep underground. This isn't just a story. Someone really hid something long ago. The trees have gold, the water has gold, and even the dirt is full of clues. They found walls, roads, and wood that look like they came from the 1500s. Tune in. Something broke open at 90 feet, and what came out was not dirt. Gold in water, gold in trees, and a tunnel below. The crew wasn't just poking holes anymore. They were armed with fancy machines, years of frustration, and just enough proof to make even the biggest doubters lean forward. It began with the water. Not just any water, but liquid laced with tiny hints of gold. Not coins, not bars, just little flakes floating like secrets. But beneath the shimmer, something pulsed, and it wasn't gold. They called the new hotspot the baby blob. Funny name for something that might be hiding something dangerous. This patch of dirt, no bigger than a tool shed, had the right numbers. It lined up with every weird signal, every strange echo, every bone-dry hunch. The gold traces led there. The core samples pointed there. Even the air seemed heavier in that exact spot. And then they found it. A ladder. Not new, not safe, not built by anyone alive. This old hand-whittled thing had been buried so deep it might as well have come with a map and a curse. It wasn't just left behind, it was hidden, tucked in a tunnel like someone knew it would be found eventually.
Yeah, I just wanted to put it in our XRF because we have detected high gold values in the area.
High gold values. Right.
Not today, not tomorrow, but one day. That day had come. The garden shaft became their playground, or maybe their battleground. They dragged rigs into place, lowered steel into the earth, and waited. Something cracked at 90 feet. A grinding howl came up from the dirt. They hit a hole, a space where no space should be. The crew froze. That wasn't just empty ground, that was design. 3 different boreholes, all in a straight line, east to west, perfect alignment. That doesn't happen by accident. Something or someone had built a tunnel under their feet. That old shaft wasn't alone. The dirt gave up wood, not splinters, but chunks. Smooth, cut, not chewed up by time. This was the kind of wood someone shaped on purpose. Maybe a chest, maybe a post, maybe something worse. Gold, not loads, not enough to make your jaw drop, but enough to prove they weren't just drilling for ghosts, enough to link everything. The water, the trees, the tunnels. Everything hummed with the same golden signal. Rick practically melted when he saw the numbers. He'd been chasing shadows for years, and now the shadows were pointing somewhere. Every missed clue, every false alarm, every empty dog suddenly matted. The treasure didn't laugh at them this time. It whispered.
I mean, all we can do is continue, like, with the water to cross-check, like, check other samples, see if we can duplicate.
Girl can find gold, that's a superpower around here.
More digging, more dirt, more sweat. The drill dove into the baby blob again, chasing that space. They reached 98.5 feet, another hole, another void. They cracked open the core and found more wood. Same texture, same color, same promise. The team circled the sample like vultures around a fresh discovery. Terry wanted a slice. Charles leaned in. Everyone wanted a piece. They weren't looking at dirt anymore. They were staring at a clue carved by someone long dead. Back at the lab, the team dried out the wood and fired up the machine again. Emma blinked at the readings. Gold again. Tiny amounts, but enough to matter. The patterns matched. The wood knew something. It had been buried in the same golden breath that hung over the baby blob. The garden shaft groaned. Down below, the team hit a wall of silence. Brandon and Alex set up the new drill, watching the screen as the shaft swallowed more steel. This time, they weren't guessing. They aimed the drill at angles, probing the walls like a dentist with a new patient. 12 holes, each one a chance. His logic was sharp. The water showed gold. The wood soaked it in. Test the inside of the shaft. If it's leaking gold, it'll show. No need to wait for every borehole to scream out treasure. Sometimes a whisper is enough. The drilling hit something again. Loud screeches echoed through the site. Everyone turned. The rods cut through something soft. They hit the air again. A new space. Another void. At 90 feet. Terry mapped it out. The borehole lined up with 2 others. East-west. Always the same. The math was brutal. Whatever was buried here had been planned, dug by hands with purpose. He rushed back. His phone buzzed. He knew before he picked up that it was time. The drill hit something real. The rods dipped, the space widened, and the pressure dropped. The lab ran tests again. Another flicker. More gold. Always gold. This wasn't just a hunt anymore. It was a confession. The island had been hiding something, and now it was finally showing signs of guilt. He called it the trail. Not a tunnel, not a shaft. A trail. Each step, each test, each drill was another breadcrumb, and the trail was getting clearer. Even skeptics on the team started to lean in. Marty, usually the loud realist, went quiet. His eyes darted across maps, his fingers traced old diagrams. They weren't chasing fairy tales, not anymore. They drilled deeper, dug wider. Every new borehole was aimed with intent. They weren't searching blind, they were hunting something that didn't want to be found. The probe inside the garden shaft found more space, more air. It pressed into the wall and came back with splinters. His team tagged each one. Another round of tests, another breath held. Again, gold. Not fool's gold, not wishful thinking, real traces. They weren't digging up trash, they were unwrapping a buried message.
So Brandon, this is 55 feet, right?
Yes, sir.
So close to that depth, when we were drilling, we hit a void in this area. So just a heads up.
Wow, heads up. Surprise, surprise, man.
Surprise, surprise.
Back in the tent, he and Alex watched the monitors. The machine dove into the dirt. Another crunch, another break. Brandon called out the depth. They were below the old void now. He asked for every piece, every shaving, nothing tossed, everything tested. As the sun dropped, the team gathered. They laid out the samples one by one. Soil, wood, dust, all lined up like suspects. The air in the tent was thick with tension. Emma scanned the latest sample. Her fingers moved over the keyboard, her eyes narrowed. Right when things felt weird enough, the island shouted louder. Signs of treasure all over Oak Island. Rick Legina was buzzing like a kid on a sugar high. No time to waste, he bolted out of the tent with bags of dirt, chunks of timber, and a face full of determination. Every whisper, every shadow, every old "maybe there's treasure here" had led them to this point. He had to show it to Emma, the one person who could actually tell them if they had stumbled onto gold or just another dusty piece of nonsense. Meanwhile, Peter Romke, a guy who chops trees for a living but apparently also builds rock walls for fun, stood on Lot 26 staring down a messy pile of stones like he just found Atlantis. His verdict? Not just some old rocks. This was a wall. A proper, structured, leaning in like a hug kind of wall. The kind you don't slap together when you're bored, but build with care. The kind of wall you build when you're hiding something or protecting something valuable. Romke dropped a little bombshell. This wall wasn't just random, the tiny rocks at the base. Classic castle building 101, England, Scotland, rubble foundations, medieval stuff. Who knew a forestry guy would be the one to point that out? The man basically said this looks like the kind of base you'd put a castle on Oak Island, right next to that lovely rock wall. A well, not your standard backyard well either. It looked weird, different, ancient. One expert had told them folks were building wells like that back in the 11th century. That's not just old, that's before forks were popular. Flashback to 2016. Same kind of well pops up at New Ross, a spot that some say was a Templar hideout. The helmet-wearing, secret-holding, treasure-loving Templars. Suddenly, things were adding up in all the wrong or right ways. Back in the present, things got even juicier. Romke pointed out the wall could have been built using rubble from tunnel digging. If you were trying to keep something hidden underground, you'd need to mask the mess somehow. That rubble wall? Perfect cover. Meanwhile, Charles and Brandon were babysitting the latest round of core drilling in the money pit. The big moment? The drill jammed up on something at 11 feet. Could be just another rock. Could be a door to the past. No one knew. The tension? Thick enough to slice with a spoon. Enter Emma Culligan, the one with the gold detector. Rick had passed her those dusty samples, and now she was back.
Oh my gosh, we're into something.
It's all through there.
There's a pretty solid chunk in the middle of it.
Someone used gold-lined wood when building the shaft. Who does that unless you're guarding something worth more? She scanned, confirmed, and tossed out a number. Not a big number by Vegas standards, but big enough in the science world to mean this ain't nothing. Marty lit up like a Christmas tree. Everyone was buzzing. The pieces were falling into place. This wasn't a wild theory anymore. It was physical, tangible. Gold has touched this piece of wood real. Now they were getting somewhere. The theory? Maybe there's a shallow chamber, a side pocket vault hidden just off the garden shaft. Maybe the treasure isn't deeper but sneakier. Could be tucked away right under their feet. Then the bricks showed up. Real bricks, used in the original shaft's walls. More tests, more speculation, more theories. That hint of gold lingered in every sample. If this was a scam, someone went all in centuries ago. Rick and the team weren't just playing detective now, they were planning, digging deeper, hoping the trail didn't go cold. Meanwhile, across the island, the war room was heating up. Tom Nolan opened his dad's old notebook. Fred Nolan, the legend. The man who found everything from ship parts in the swamp to a boulder cross formation that looked like it belonged on the back of a dollar bill. And apparently a hidden well, too. The well? Buried, not open. Strange. Most island wells are just there. This one was intentionally hidden. Buried. Covered up like someone didn't want it found. Rick and Alex wasted no time digging on Lot 11. They hit pay dirt, literally.
If we get lucky, this will tell us.
Drill's going in now. All right, but we're in business. Yep.
Gary, the metal guy, scanned the fresh pile and pulled out a rosehead spike. Handmade, old, pre-1795 kind of old. The kind of thing people used when they were serious about building or hiding. Then came the hook. Another old-school artifact, probably used for pulling water or pulling secrets. Add in the spike, the hook, and the wall, and suddenly this wasn't just a well, it was a setup. Gary said the hook looked a lot like another one they found on Lot 8, which had been dated to the 1600s. Same design, same purpose, same eerie vibe. The deeper they went, the more the well started to resemble the one back on Lot 26. Same structure, same stacked stones, same feeling that something bigger was at play. The kicker? Silver. That hidden well wasn't just mimicking its twin, it had its own precious trace. Not gold this time, but silver. The island wasn't just dropping hints now, it was shouting. Two wells, opposite ends of the island, same craftsmanship, same secrecy, same buried intentions. Whoever built them wasn't leaving breadcrumbs, they were laying out a blueprint. A hidden underground blueprint. And if the team could crack it, maybe, just maybe, the treasure everyone laughs about would finally show itself. But the swamp loomed nearby, that damp reminder that every dig came with risk. Ecological ones, political ones, the kind that got things shut down just when they were getting good. Meanwhile, in the official nerve center, the interpretive center, Emma Culligan is working her magic. She's the archaeometallurgy, the person who pokes at old stuff to figure out if it's shiny or just dirt. This time she's looking at wood pulled from the garden shaft, 58 feet deep. Not 10, not 20, 58. That's way past casual curiosity. This wood isn't just damp kindling, it's full of story. She scans it using one of those futuristic machines and finds something interesting. Not fairy dust, but gold. Not a lot, but enough to make you pay attention. What's wilder is the deeper they go, the more gold shows up. Not just once, repeated. Different depths, different samples, same glittery hint. You'd think the island was teasing them, just a little more each time. The deeper they dug, the clearer it got. Someone was here before. A tunnel, a shaft, and a road to the 1500s. Across the site, Craig Tester is running the show. Picture a guy who doesn't crack a smile unless dirt's falling through a screen. He's with the Dumas drilling team, who are currently at 68 feet down and going for 80. Their goal? To waterproof the levels as they go, get clean samples, and try to hit a jackpot. This isn't wild guessing, they've got reasons. First, the gold in the wood. Then a tunnel was found at 98 feet. Add the silver and gold traces from the treasure zone nearby, and suddenly the garden shaft looks like more than just a big hole. It's becoming the center of something. Paul Coate from the drilling team has a system, 12 holes per set, strategically placed around the shaft. They're not just drilling for the fun of it, they're mapping out what's hiding around it. If gold shows up in these extra holes, it's another clue. The goal isn't just to find treasure, it's to prove this whole setup is part of a larger machine.
You've got to affirm whether or not it is a tunnel. And the only way to learn that is to pull the core.
Once a forgotten stretch of dirt, now it's buzzing. Tom Nolan's father believes something was going on here, and his notes are now being reread like treasure maps. In this lot is something called the quadrilateral, basically a geometric pile of rocks that screams purpose. As they dig in lot 13, it gets strange fast. Burned sticks, weird clay, charred bits that look like someone set up a barbecue centuries ago. They're not guessing here. This stuff is out of place. It doesn't belong in this part of the island, and that means someone brought it or hid something under it. And then, flashbacks. That stone road in the swamp? They thought it was a fluke until they found the same design in Portugal. Not kind of similar, nearly identical. Built with the same stone-laying technique known to have been used by the Portuguese during the 1400s and 1500s. That little coincidence? Not so little anymore. Suddenly, theories start stacking up. Burned wood, odd-shaped formations, gold trace, stone roads, strange clay, all pointing to something buried. Not just in the ground, but in history. Rick thinks it's not just a structure. It's a vault, a hand-built secret burial-type vault, covered in blue clay to keep water out and buried under boulders like a medieval safe. Dr. Ian Spooner steps in to test this. He's not here to humor theories. He pokes the ground with scientific sticks. When he pulls up clay fused to charred wood, even he pauses. That's not natural. That's someone hiding something. The soil's all wrong for this area. Too thick, too rich, too tampered. It's not just a spot, it's a scene, a piece of land manipulated to hide, protect, and seal something in. That's not just evidence, it's motive. And motive means human involvement. Cue the war room. They call up researchers across Europe, particularly one from the Azores named Francisco Nogueira. He's got files, ideas, and the kind of deep knowledge you only get from obsessing over Portuguese maritime history. He drops the kind of bombshell that rewrites maps. The Order of Christ, aka the rebranded Portuguese Knights Templar, was active in the Azores and possibly stashed valuables during the chaos of the 1500s. There was a succession crisis. The king died without heirs. A whole mess broke out. Somewhere in the middle of that, a pile of treasure vanished, and Francisco thinks the rock walls on Oak Island look suspiciously Portuguese. Big outer rocks, little ones in the middle, a technique used by those same Templar leftovers. Back to Rick. He was in Portugal. He walked the roads, saw the walls, and something clicked. If those people were losing power, losing land, and maybe losing their heads, hiding their riches in a new world made sense. Oak Island fits that timeline, that style, that motive. The next
These artifacts are pushing us back farther in time than I ever thought we would see here. We're finding answers way back, way back.
The next day, the team heads back to Lot 13 with fresh drills and dirty fingernails. They're pulling up more of that blue clay and charred wood. Something is under it. Then, the big surprise. A wall. A stone wall so neatly and oddly built it doesn't just look old, it looks intentional. The dating? Sometime between 1464 and 1638. That's right in the danger zone of Portuguese power struggles and early transatlantic trips. You can almost picture it. Panicked sailors offloading crates, building walls, digging shafts, laying stone roads in the middle of the forest. Laird, the site archaeologist, says this type of wall would normally divide farmland. But farmland doesn't explain blue clay or burned wood. Rick thinks it's infrastructure. Not fields, features. Not for crops, for protection. It's not what's above ground that matters. It's what's below. Jack Bagley agrees. You don't build a double wall out here in the woods unless you've got a plan. That takes time, tools, and purpose. All signs are pointing towards someone going to serious lengths to keep something hidden. Back in the war room, they pull out more maps, more names, more dates. The Inquisition was happening back then. Religious groups were being hunted, wealth was being seized, and anyone with a stash of gold would have been desperate to get it out of Europe. Especially those with ships, especially those connected to the Order of Christ. The shaft, the tunnel, the wall, the road, the burned wood, the strange sediments. They're all whispering the same thing, that something was buried here, and it wasn't an accident. It was designed. It was hidden, and it might just be waiting. They're not done yet, not by a long shot. They've got more samples to analyze, more ground to dig, and more experts to call. They're even planning to visit more sites in Europe. This isn't just about Oak Island anymore. It's about connecting the dots between continents, secrets, and centuries. And while they're still chasing shadows and half-buried dreams, this time they've got evidence. Not stories, not hearsay, not just a feeling, actual physical pieces that point to something big. What if the real reason behind all the tunnels and traps was to make sure no one opened them? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more.